the Australian government has announced its long-awaited crackdown on betting advertising. To get across the new rules, we're joined by Tom Waterhouse from Waterhouse VC. Tom, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? So, can you sum it up for us then? What are these changes?
Yeah, look, there's a blanket ban between 6 and 8:30. Then you've got where they can advertise 3 ads per hour after 8:30. And then there's a ban on signage at sports grounds and on the back of jerseys. That's broadly it.
And primarily this is to avoid exposure for children.
That's correct.
And obviously those who are vulnerable. So are there potential winners and losers out of these changes?
Yeah, I think short term it's probably the scale operators are the winners. So the ones that already have the large customer bases, they probably see that they can spend maybe less on advertising and it goes to their bottom line. And I think more broadly, what's going to win is the suppliers to the industry, because rather than differentiating on advertising, that's becoming more restricted and the channels where you can advertise are becoming less and less. Operators are going to differentiate on products, so maybe the Bet with Mates product, cash out facilities, better CRM tools, better bonusing tools, and all of this sort of stuff. So that's what we as a fund, Waterhouse VC, we focus on. We focus on that supply side. We don't invest in the operators. And it's really a tailwind for them, because 10 years ago you used to just put big ads on TV. Now you've got to differentiate with thousands of different markets and lots of different products which service the customers in giving them a better product, which gives better retention, better lifetime value of the customer. And so that's how operators are differentiating now. Rather than advertising, it's what type of product they have and what type of service they can give the customer.
Well, I guess that's the way of advertising now anyway, isn't it? It's very targeted.
It's really shifted. It's very targeted and means that there's so many different things you can do as an operator to try and entice a customer and keep a customer. And that's where we focus.
Do you see any loopholes?
In terms of the advertising restrictions?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think it's obviously, I think the government is with best intentions. You know, they're trying to make sure that young people and people with gambling problems aren't exposed to constant ads. But one of the biggest things why a regulated onshore operator is onshore is because they can advertise. So the more you restrict and regulate and make it tougher to advertise, they're less inclined to be onshore. And you've seen that there's been massive growth in the unregulated market. H2 estimates that over a third of the gambling market now is offshore. They don't pay any taxes, they don't have any customer protections, and they advertise in ways that are very hard to monitor. So they have influencers and they have streamers and they have ways that aren't front and center, which actually hits a much younger demographic. And you're seeing that the customers that are in that, it's 36% is H2's figure of offshore gambling leakage. Those customers that first go offshore are the ones with the biggest problems. So they're registered with BetStop as having a gambling problem, and they go to those offshore operators. So the government, I think with best intentions, are trying to curb gambling advertising, but it's multi-pronged. You know, they've got to stop the payment gateways of being able to get to these offshore operators. They've got to put tighter restrictions in. They've got to make sure there's product parity. It's one step of many to try and curb the problem.
Are there any revenue implications, I guess, further down the chain, particularly for sport?
Yes, so I think for sport is that for them and for the racing industry, they want to have as much of the business onshore, paying tax and making sure that the gambling ecosystem is kept inside Australia. If it's a third of turnover and gambling loss going offshore, paying no tax, no harm minimisation measures, well, you're losing a third of revenue that should be going back to the government, the state governments, the federal governments, the local sporting bodies, and obviously the racing industry. So it's a big issue, but it's very hard now. It's hard to control the internet, and there's so many different payment gateways now to get onto these providers, and really they offer a very good service. You know, much quicker deposit, much quicker withdrawal, no KYC. They offer a far broader product range, in-play betting. So once a game started, you can bet. They offer live casino. You can have all the casino bets. You have a casino, land-based casino. You can use them. And the government's done a good job of blocking thousands of these websites, but they spring up very quickly again. So it's a very big problem. It's a much broader issue than the gambling advertising, even though that is one step. But the way that you view TV and I view TV is just different to 10 years ago. And so it's a much broader problem.
So Tom, you made the point before that we've moved way beyond just taking a bet on the races or on the local footy game, or in terms of a larger footy game, be it AFL or whatever. Digital gambling, you're saying that is really where the growth is at the moment.
Yeah, look, gambling has always been, like of the $30 billion lost in Australia, there's about 20-25% of it on racing and sport. The rest is casino games. So you've got obviously lotteries, like pokies, and different type of table games at casinos. The vast majority are the casino games. And especially since COVID, you've seen people no longer want to go to their land-based pub, club, or casino, especially on a rainy night when they can access it off their phone. And that's the trend with everything. And so you've seen that of the third of the offshore gambling that's gone offshore, they might come because they want to place an in-play sports bet. But these operators are very quick to shift them to the most lucrative area of their business, which is the online gaming. It's the online slots. So people are playing pokies on their phone, and it's addictive. You know, it's highly addictive, and once they get into that ecosystem, they're bonus to keep coming back. And once you're outside the regulated market into this unregulated sphere, it's very hard to get back in. And the biggest issue is tax leakage, impact to Australian businesses and businesses that employ lots of people and pay high tax, and also the gambling harm minimisation. People have the controls in place here that if they've got issues and they're overextending themselves, there are stops in place by the regulator. These offshore operators don't have those same controls.